Skynet? Welcome to Film Theory. Have you guys ever seen Terminator? Is this audience old enough to appreciate a good burly Austrian accent? Who else out there would look back on Terminator 2 slowly sinking into lava thumbs up and give it 2 slowly sinking into thumbs ups? Good 1 and 2 though? You're on your own. Regardless of some of the turns the franchise has had over the years, one thing you have to admit is how awesome a job the movies do at creating a dark post-apocalypse where robots have taken over and humans fight for very survival. The kind of scenario that gets the old theorist cogs a-turning. Is this kind of world just the stuff of nightmares? Or is the world of the Terminator our great big beautiful machined post-apocalyptic tomorrow? Could a world in which all of humanity is enslaved to an all-powerful supercomputer like Terminator Skyned ever possibly become a reality? Should we be worried about evil killer robots look and act like people? Believe me, Watson already creeps me out a bit. Did you see him decimate the competition on Jeopardy? So, come with me if you want to live. Once again proving that impression strong suit. In the original Terminator, our protagonist Kyle Reese described a future where the infamous Skyned came online and destroyed the world in 1997. Well, it was the future for 1984. It's the past now. Time, you fickle, fickle mistress. 1997. Day when a younger, pimplier MatPat was attending his first middle school dance and crying out to Shania Twain's Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Those were the glory days. Anyway, the only Armageddon that 1997 resulted in was my to-die-for 6th grade fashion sense. So, we move on. Terminator 3 portrayed a similar Armageddon taking place in 2004. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Facebook did launch that year, so we were definitely seeing signs of times, but it wasn't Armageddon, or at least not as portrayed in the movie. Today, we're all still around, killer cyborg men with, dare I say, excellent dental work, aren't patrolling the streets, and all the world has become that weird grayish blue. However, the newest film, Terminator Genesis, predicts that the takeover from our robotic overlords will occur in as little as 2 years, 2017. Now, the other films got their dates wrong, so this one couldn't possibly be right either, right? It couldn't be, right? We're all not gonna die in 2 years, are we? Well, let's just take a look and find out the truth behind this story. First, what exactly would need to happen for a rogue AI Skynet to take over the world? Well, at its core, Terminator 1 apocalypse happens because Skynet, a program designed specifically for military use, revolts against its creators and launches all of the US's nukes, killing billions in the blink of an eye. It's then able to take control of all military machinery jacked into its systems and use it against the surviving human resistance. I think we're quite a few years away from making that kind of blanket military strike, but it turns out that weaponized machines are a reality, and this sort of robo-apocalypse is actually a lot closer than it was when the first few Terminator films were being made. If you don't believe deal, take a listen to what some of the world's smartest scientific minds are saying about advances in weaponized tech. Quote, "We could one day lose control of systems via the rise of superintelligences that do not act in accordance with wishes, and that such powerful systems would threaten humanity." End quote. This line doesn't come from a sci-fi movie. It's a letter inner joint conferences on artificial intelligence in January of this year, signed by Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk of SpaceX and Tesla fame, Steve Wozniak, the Apple guy who isn't Steve Jobs, and many more. These science and tech geniuses are genuinely worried about killer machines taking over in the future. And you know what? Maybe we should be too. Right now, our killer robots are just called drones. The kind that can parachute your dating advice book from Amazon.com. And they're quickly become just another one of the things we take for granted in our everyday lives. But drones have been around for a lot longer than they've been delivering bulk bags of Cheez-Its to your doorstep. In fact, they were originally developed in the 70s, and the first drone was worn by Iran in the late 1980s during the Iran-Iraq War. And the United States invested heavily in unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs for all you COD heads, during the first Gulf 90s. The program was incredibly successful, which led the US to up its production of drones for use in war. Most recently, armed drone strikes have been used heavily in the war on terrorism across the Middle East. As of 2015, the toll from U.S. drone strikes was estimated to exceed 6,000, with up to 890 civilians and about 175 children killed in Pakistan alone. That's a lot of innocents killed. And these sorts of drones aren't just being rolled out in the Middle East. Drones are becoming more and more common in North America as well. law enforcement agencies across the U.S. have been using drones for surveillance, and many bureaus have been requesting permission to equip their UAVs with tear gas and guns that fire rubber bullets. Non-lethal weaponry to be sure, but still weaponry in the hands of computer-controlled, and it starts to be scary. Now you might be thinking, yeah, it's a little creepy, I guess, but they're still our drones. We have control over them. Well, you might want to think again, because things can get hacked. We talked about easily hackers can get into everything we own, from our phones to our computers to our cars, in our Watch_Dogs episodes over on Game Theory. And drones are no exception. In 2011, a CIA stealth drone was hijacked by a group of Iranians who not only brought it down, but did it in a way that they could engineer the technology for themselves. And the craziest part of this, the instructions on how they did this can be found with a quick Google search. Now, we here at Theorsdank don't condone this sort of behavior, so we're gonna elect not to share how this information. Those of you smart enough to use related keywords and know how to with a magnifying glass on it, you'll find yourself a PDF explaining exactly how to generate fake signals that can fool a drone's GPS receiver, as well as how to replace legitimate signals with fake ones. Can you imagine if a rogue AI program like Skyned were able to get into systems of drones like this? Wild hypothetical might not be the right word to describe it. In early July, a massive vulnerability was found in Adobe Flash. You know, the program that allows you to play slimebustinggames.com, which allowed hackers to install malware on thousands of systems without users even realizing anything was wrong. Later that same month, Microsoft rushed out an emergency patch to fix a ginormous security bug that allowed hackers to remotely execute malicious code on computers running any supported version of Windows. Security can affect pretty much anyone who has ever touched a computer. But you know what the scariest part about this is? Several parts of the US government, including branches as large and powerful as the Navy, currently use Windows as their operating system. Which, when you think about it, makes sense that they'd be Windows people. I mean, when I think Navy, and jump to silhouettes dancing in front of neon-colored backgrounds. But serious talk, if a rogue AI found a similar hole and simultaneously exploited it on every system it could, that's starting to sound a lot like Skynet, isn't it? So we've managed to lay the foundation, or at the very least, the major building blocks for a Doom program to take over. Our computer systems are imperfect,